Death is the one certainty that humankind cannot escape, yet it is a topic often avoided, ignored, or sanitized in daily life. Awareness of mortality, however, has the paradoxical power to enhance life, deepen experience, and cultivate gratitude. Philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual thinkers alike have long observed that confronting the inevitability of death transforms perception. Fleeting moments acquire weight, mundane experiences gain significance, and human connection becomes more urgent and profound. In essence, it is the awareness of life's finitude that compels us to notice its abundance. The existentialist tradition, from Kierkegaard to Heidegger, frames mortality as central to authentic existence. Heidegger, in particular, describes being toward death as a state of consciousness in which the individual acknowledges life's impermanence and structures behavior around this recognition. The stark reality of death, rather than paralyzing, serves as a lens to evaluate priorities, relationships, and desires. Moments that might otherwise be overlooked, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, or the quiet presence of a friend, become vivid, charged with meaning precisely because they are transient. Awareness of death sharpens perception and creates a heightened sensitivity to the value of the present. Psychologically, mortality salience, the conscious recognition of death, profoundly shapes cognition and emotion. Research in terror management theory demonstrates that awareness of mortality triggers reflection on legacy, meaning, and values. In practical terms, when people contemplate finitude, they often report heightened appreciation for relationships, sensory pleasures, and experiences that connect them to the world. This awareness fosters gratitude, a deep recognition of the fleeting and precious nature of life, which cannot be achieved when one assumes permanence. Life's impermanence transforms ordinary events into extraordinary moments of recognition, cultivating a mindset in which every experience is imbued with significance. Emotionally, awareness of death reframes desire and attachment. The fleeting nature of life amplifies the value of connection, empathy, and shared experience. Human relationships, which may be taken for granted in the illusion of endless time, acquire urgency and depth. Simple acts, a conversation, a gesture of kindness, a shared meal, become not routine but meaningful, moments of recognition that life, in its impermanence, is generous in its capacity for connection. Gratitude arises naturally as the mind internalizes the contrast between fleeting opportunity and enduring absence. Cognitively, confronting mortality encourages intentional living. When life's brevity is recognized, priorities shift. Trivial conflicts lose weight, distractions fade, and attention is focused on what is truly significant. Philosophically, this echoes Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the impermanence of all things, urging reflection on what is within control, what is fleeting, and what is worthy of attention. Awareness of death, far from paralyzing action, directs energy toward engagement, presence, and meaningful contribution, creating a mindset of deliberate appreciation and conscious choice. Socially, mortality awareness enhances relational gratitude. Individuals who contemplate finitude often exhibit greater patience, empathy, and generosity. The recognition that time is limited encourages investment in relationships, reconciliation of conflict, and acknowledgement of the people who shape life's narrative. Acts of kindness, expressions of love, and moments of shared presence acquire new depth, as the impermanence of life highlights the preciousness of human connection. Gratitude becomes not an abstract virtue but an immediate, lived experience. Philosophically, the paradox of mortality lies in its ability to simultaneously terrify and illuminate. Nietzsche emphasized the creative potential of confronting limits. By acknowledging suffering, loss, and the inevitability of death, individuals cultivate strength, presence, and appreciation for life's intensity. Kierkegaard underscored the existential responsibility that awareness of mortality imparts. Life is finite, meaning must be sought, and each choice carries consequence. Gratitude emerges as a natural byproduct of this confrontation, a conscious acknowledgement that life, in all its impermanence, is worth attention, care, and reverence. Neurologically, mortality salience engages reflective networks in the brain, stimulating prefrontal circuits involved in evaluation, planning, and emotional regulation. Simultaneously, it heightens activity in regions associated with reward and social bonding when considering meaningful experiences or relationships. In essence, awareness of death sensitizes both cognition and emotion, creating fertile ground for gratitude, empathy, and reflective appreciation. The brain's wiring supports the paradox. Fear of loss and finitude intensifies recognition of value, transforming ordinary perception into profound awareness. Ultimately, the awareness of death is not a morbid fixation, but a lens for life. By confronting mortality, individuals cultivate gratitude for moments, relationships, and experiences that might otherwise go unnoticed. Subscribing allows continued exploration into the interplay between existential awareness, emotional richness, and mindful living, providing tools to navigate life with attentiveness, appreciation, and intentionality. Death, in its inevitability, becomes not a source of despair but a catalyst for recognition, connection, and profound gratitude. The confrontation with death is not merely a philosophical exercise. It has tangible effects on how people perceive and interact with their lives. Awareness of mortality creates a heightened attentiveness to experience, encouraging individuals to savor moments, cultivate presence, and nurture gratitude. Yet this process requires more than passive acknowledgement. It involves active engagement with thought patterns, behaviors, and emotional responses. By integrating mortality awareness into daily life, humans transform abstract anxiety into meaningful appreciation, deepening connection with self, others, and the world. Psychologically, the process begins with reflection. Mortality salience triggers cognitive reassessment. Individuals evaluate what truly matters, which relationships and activities bring fulfillment, and which concerns are trivial. This reflection often leads to prioritization of experiences that foster connection, creativity, or personal growth. Simple daily rituals, pausing to notice the warmth of sunlight, appreciating a shared meal, or expressing thanks for kindness, become amplified in significance. The brain, conditioned to value novelty and reward, begins to associate gratitude and mindful presence with neurochemical reinforcement, strengthening pathways that sustain appreciation. Emotionally, awareness of death reshapes attachment and desire. Recognizing the impermanence of life intensifies emotional investment in meaningful interactions. Conflicts, minor irritations, and petty frustrations lose prominence, while shared experiences and expressions of care acquire heightened significance. Attachment becomes more deliberate. Time spent with loved ones is valued not as routine, but as precious and finite. Gratitude is not a passive sentiment, but a dynamic response to the reality that life's most valuable experiences are fleeting, making attention, empathy, and presence central to daily engagement. Behaviorally, integrating mortality awareness encourages intentional action. Decisions about time, energy, and focus are guided by reflection on finitude. Trivial distractions, habitual negativity, or time-wasting activities are naturally deprioritized, while meaningful pursuits, creative work, connection with others, personal growth are elevated. Even mundane moments gain weight when framed against the backdrop of impermanence. Walking, cooking, reading, or conversation are approached with curiosity and attentiveness, transforming routine into deliberate appreciation. Nietzsche's philosophy resonates here. By confronting limitations and suffering, one cultivates intensity of experience, turning life into an active engagement with meaning and value. Socially, mortality awareness strengthens gratitude through relational mindfulness. Recognizing that time with others is finite motivates acknowledgement, apology, and generosity. Expressions of appreciation, whether verbal, physical, or symbolic, are amplified in significance because of awareness that each interaction is temporally limited. Empathy deepens as the recognition of shared mortality enhances connection, dissolves trivial judgment, and fosters patience. Gratitude becomes relational, extending beyond internal reflection to intentional expressions that enhance bonds and social cohesion. Cognitively, awareness of death promotes reflection on legacy and contribution. Individuals naturally ask, how will my actions be remembered? What imprint do I leave on the world, family, or community? This forward-looking perspective reinforces gratitude for opportunity and presence, linking existential awareness with purposeful engagement. The brain, attuned to patterns of reward and significance, begins to encode intentional action as emotionally satisfying, further reinforcing the integration of mortality awareness into daily life. Philosophically, the paradox of death and gratitude is profound. That which terrifies, the certainty of non-existence, simultaneously illuminates the preciousness of existence. Heidegger's concept of authentic being toward death frames life as a series of meaningful choices made in the shadow of impermanence. Nietzsche underscores that embracing suffering, limitation, and finitude is essential for experiencing life's intensity. Gratitude is thus not a superficial courtesy, but a deep recognition of life's impermanence, a conscious engagement with beauty, connection, and meaning. Neurologically, mortality awareness activates reflective networks in the prefrontal cortex while modulating the limbic system's response to reward and threat. This dual activation heightens sensitivity to emotionally significant experiences while tempering overreaction to trivial stressors. The result is an enhanced capacity for emotional regulation, presence, and gratitude. The brain learns to respond to meaningful moments with attention and appreciation, reinforcing pathways that support mindful living. Ultimately, translating awareness of death into daily gratitude requires conscious practice. Reflection, mindfulness, intentional action, relational attentiveness, and philosophical contemplation create a framework in which the fleeting nature of life enhances, rather than diminishes, experience. Subscribing allows continued exploration of these principles, offering guidance on how to cultivate gratitude through awareness of finitude, transforming existential understanding into practical, lived appreciation. Death becomes not a source of fear but a catalyst for seeing life's richness with clarity, depth, and presence. Awareness of death is a lens that sharpens perception, imbuing even the smallest moments with significance. Yet, for this awareness to foster lasting gratitude, it must be intentionally integrated into daily life. The human mind is easily distracted, habituated, and prone to taking the ordinary for granted. Mortality, however, demands attention. It reminds us that each moment is irretrievable, each encounter potentially final, and each experience inherently precious. To cultivate gratitude, awareness must transform from abstract contemplation into actionable practice, shaping thought, behavior, and emotion in deliberate ways. One effective strategy is reflective journaling focused on impermanence. By daily noting experiences, interactions, or sensations that feel meaningful, individuals create a record of value, reinforcing recognition of what is transient and treasured. Reflection anchors gratitude in concrete awareness rather than vague sentiment. The mind learns to notice beauty, kindness, and connection, enhancing emotional richness. Over time, this practice rewires attention, training neural pathways to prioritize meaningful experiences and reducing habituation to life's fleeting gifts. Mindfulness and present moment awareness further amplify gratitude. When death is recognized as inevitable, the ordinary assumes extraordinary weight. A cup of coffee, the warmth of sunlight, or the laughter of a friend becomes vivid and significant. Mindfulness techniques, focused breathing, sensory observation, and intentional attention heighten engagement with these moments, creating emotional resonance and fostering gratitude. This is not mere sentimentalism. It is a deliberate cultivation of attentiveness, allowing the mind to experience life's depth fully, without distraction or automaticity. Practicing intentional acknowledgement in relationships strengthens both connection and gratitude. Expressing appreciation, apologizing promptly, or actively listening becomes more than etiquette. It becomes a conscious recognition of the temporal nature of connection. Awareness of mortality compels individuals to speak and act with presence, transforming relationships from routine interaction into meaningful engagement. Social psychology supports this. Explicit acknowledgement of others enhances bonding, positive affect, and overall life satisfaction, illustrating the tangible benefits of mortality-informed gratitude. Cognitively, reframing adversity and limitation through the lens of finitude strengthens gratitude. Challenges, setbacks, and discomforts take on context within the broader awareness of life's brevity. Psychological resilience emerges as individuals prioritize what matters, letting go of trivial frustrations and focusing energy on experiences that enhance meaning. Nietzsche's philosophy echoes this. Suffering, limitation, and mortality themselves cultivate appreciation and intensity of experience. Gratitude is not naive cheerfulness, but a conscious, reflective acknowledgement of life's fragility and richness. Emotionally, cultivating gratitude through mortality awareness deepens contentment and reduces fear. The mind internalizes the contrast between fleeting existence and meaningful engagement, enhancing satisfaction with the present and reducing attachment to trivial concerns. Neural pathways associated with reward and emotion are reinforced, producing positive affective states linked to attentiveness and reflection. This emotional calibration allows individuals to respond to life with heightened sensitivity, appreciation, and resilience. Behaviorally, deliberate acts reinforce this mindset. Small rituals, expressing thanks, savoring sensory experiences, engaging in meaningful work, or contributing to the well-being of others, embed mortality awareness into daily life. Each act reinforces the psychological association between impermanence and significance, translating reflection into habit and insight into lived experience. Over time, gratitude becomes a natural, reflexive response rather than a forced effort, rooted in conscious awareness of life's fleeting nature. Philosophically, cultivating gratitude in the shadow of mortality aligns with both existential and Stoic thought. Life's impermanence is not an invitation to despair but a clarifying lens. It forces prioritization, intentionality, and reflection. Kierkegaard emphasized the responsibility to live fully despite uncertainty, while Nietzsche underscored the creative potential of embracing suffering and limitation. Gratitude emerges naturally in this context, as conscious awareness of life's temporality sharpens perception, intensifies engagement, and fosters authentic appreciation for both ordinary and extraordinary experiences. Ultimately, awareness of death is a transformative tool. When consciously integrated into thought, emotion, and behavior, it nurtures gratitude, deepens connection, and cultivates intentional living. Each day becomes an opportunity to engage fully, appreciate profoundly, and act with presence. Subscribing allows continued guidance on translating existential awareness into practical strategies, turning mortality from a source of fear into a catalyst for rich, grateful, and meaningful life. In the shadow of our inevitable end, life itself becomes a gift, vivid in its impermanence, and worthy of gratitude at every moment.